Hey, everybody, welcome to Chuck Yates Needs a Job, the podcast. Special episode today. Digital Wildcatters has a new podcast out.
We do.
Hell yeah.
Woo.
Energy 101.
I like it. All right. So here's what we need to do. Real quick, we'll start over here with Sydney. Introduce yourself, say what you do at Digital Wildcatters, and then we'll start talking about y'all's podcast.
Great. I'm Sydney. I am the event manager.
I'm Jules, and I am a marketing coordinator.
I'm Misty, and I'm an executive assistant.
I'm Julie, and I run ops.
And
And Colin.
And marketing.
and marketing and Colin.
All right.
We'll just stop it at ops. Covers everything.
I don't think anybody would actually sign up for that job. So.
I actually really, really enjoy it.
Oh,
I
that's
love
so
it.
sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not recording anymore. You can tell us. No, so you guys got together, started a podcast, which I think is really cool. And that's why I'm so glad y'all came on, because I love what y'all are doing. Tell us the name. Tell us what it is.
Energy 101, where we ask the dumb questions so you don't have to. And it's really just a podcast to help us learn energy and help other people listening also learn.
We all came from outside of energy. So working at a place where all we talk about is energy, it was important to all of us to get a deeper understanding of what you guys are talking about.
Oh, that's very cool. So we've recorded how many episodes so far, Sydney?
4?
4?
We
And-
have another one scheduled for next week.
Cool. So just give me a sense. Who have you had on? What have y'all talked about? Kind of how's it gone down?
I think my favorite so far has been Diana Grauer with NOV. She talked a lot about their R&D and the steps you have to take to research tech. And she talked a lot about robots. And I feel like our conversations always kind of spiral into these very niche things that, we start with the basic question and it always kind of spirals into really fun kind of extra tidbits that I don't think anyone would ever think to ask about.
So what was the basic question for Diana? And the reason I'm asking is next time I go eat lunch with her, I want to ask it because you're right. She gets into robotics world. And I mean, I never did offshore stuff.
Right.
I mean, robots to me is like a Star Wars movie, but it's actually her life. So what was kind of the base question y'all started with?
We kind of just started chatting with her and it kind of just naturally came up that, and I can't remember what the actual name of the process was that she started talking about. Do you?
I don't remember, but I was going to say that was like my biggest takeaway is I related it a lot to the medical field and how technology is developed in the field, and you can't just throw it out there because you have all these lives you're putting at risk if the technology doesn't work or it's not ready. Something readiness scale.
Oh yeah, technology readiness scale. Does that sound right?
Oh, nice.
Something like that.
Maybe not. Don't hold me to that.
No, because I mean, if you think about it, so what Diana does a lot of offshore stuff, and you're under 2,000 feet of water, and it's dangerous. There's a lot of pressure, and so robotics makes a lot of sense. Because I think one of the things, because y'all, we sit around and we talk about what you guys are doing, and it's like, well, we just want to ask some questions, and can we ask a stupid question and basics? And I remember one time the idea popped up of, well, we should record all this. Because the other thing I think that comes out of this, not only sort of this base education, is we do a lot of really, really cool shit in the oil and gas business. And and I mean, I kind of grew up in it. Colin grew up in it. And so it's sort of secondhand to us. But I mean, his drill bit video on TikTok, I mean, 1 million people have watched that. How crazy is that?
I think the technology just in the oil field is insane. And you don't think of it like technology in the sense of the word because it's all big machinery, but that's still technology and robotics. And I think that's like one really cool thing with Diana is she's able to get you very excited about what's coming up in the field. She makes it not so grungy.
Yeah.
Which was cool. Because when you think of like oil and gas specifically, you think of just like grungy old West Texas. Not so much the cool side of things.
So Misty, Give me another episode. Who else did you guys have on besides Diana?
We've had Justin.
Gauthier.
Thank you, Julie. And he talked about fluid drilling, right?
He kind of broke down the
Yeah.
basics of like upstream, midstream, downstream, like basic level oil and gas.
Oh, and I bet Justin was really good at it.
Yeah.
My
it was a fun
favorite
episode.
Justin thing is he posted a picture of himself riding a pump jack, and I put it next to Sarah Stodgner's nude picture, and I ran a poll on Twitter of who wore it better, and he didn't lose by that much.
I was gonna say, did he win?
Which was
It's his
kind of
beard.
impressive.
Mhm.
That must be a thing now. I've seen a lot of people on LinkedIn or pictures of people riding pump jacks. I'm like, okay,
Oh, it's always
this is a thing.
It's always a
It's,
thing.
it's a
And
thing.
you
It's
grow
funny.
up in West Texas and you've had 3 beers. You've ridden
It's
a
a
pump
thing.
jack. Yeah.
You don't really have much else to do.
So that's cool. So who else has been on? So we've had Justin, we've had Diana.
And we had Kay McCall. She taught us about renewables.
Oh, cool. Give me a fact or two that you learned there.
I think for me, with her episode, she broke it down. She broke the energy industry down into 2 parts. And I had never thought of it this way. And probably because I just don't have a deep understanding of the petrochemical side. But she broke it down into the power generation side, which is what renewables are. There's not petrochemicals that you're making
Right.
other products with. And then the petrochemical side, which is where oil and gas really comes in. So it was cool to like get it broken down like that, because I've never heard of anyone like talking about that before.
Yeah. I know that, again, it's just kind of one of those second nature things, that
Mhm.
you take oil, you refine it, turns into transportation fluid or fuel that's, 90 some odd percent of all transportation in the world happens because of refined petroleum, right? But then they make a ton of stuff out of it. I mean, plastics, all that. And one of the funniest things is, the CEO of Patagonia, somebody wanted to put their logo, an oil and gas company wanted to put their logo on a vest, and he said, no, we wouldn't do that. Well, every single product he sells has polyester in it, which is made out of oil. So the Colorado Oil and Gas Association voted him Customer of the Year.
That's funny.
Yeah, no, it's pretty funny. Okay, so this begs the question, and I don't want to come off as needy here, but I think it's going to come off as needy. Y'all have this great podcast. Y'all are asking these dignitaries base questions on energy to educate, and I don't get to come on. Really? I'm so hurt.
What do you want to talk about?
I don't know.
Actually, if you
Since-
remember, we did invite you to
True.
come talk about the IRA. Is that what it's
Oh,
called?
yeah. The Inflation Reduction
Yes,
Act.
Yes.
So like I have to host my own podcast to get y'all to ask me that question.
It's an eye for an eye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So fire away. Ask me a question. Is that the question? We're going to talk the IRA.
I actually wasn't prepared for that. Are y'all prepared
No.
for that?
No.
Can you
Oh,
break
later.
down in simple terms what the Inflation Reduction Act is?
Yes. So basically, what the Inflation Reduction Act does is, when it comes to the energy business, is, let's call it half a billion. Was it $500 billion or so of credits towards the energy business pushing clean energy. And what's interesting about it is, historically in America, how we grew up as a country is government would throw money at things, but it sort of just threw money at things and said, hey, private sector, you go figure it out, right? Y'all compete, whoever the winner is. And, our tax code is really dirty because industries go in and get favorable tax treatment for their industry versus other stuff. But for the most part, what was interesting about the IRA is it came in and basically said, hey, we're going all in on electric vehicles, right? And so it said things like here's a tax credit for cars if you buy an electric vehicle. And then it took it a step further and said, oh, by the way, you only get that tax credit if I think it said 80% of your battery components are manufactured in North America and or you mined the materials in North America. So not only did it say kind of, hey, we're doing electric vehicles, it said we're doing it here and we're prescribing the path. And so it's, Mark Meyer, who's starting to hang out with us and is potentially going to start writing the BDE newsletter for us. He really pointed out that, holy cow, the second order effects of this, and we're starting to see that is, Honda came out and said, we're building a battery manufacturing plant here and we're going to spend $4 billion doing it. And you've seen numerous kind of announcements like that. So it's been interesting watching that amount of money, that amount of favorable stuff in the tax code really push clean energy, but push it in such a way where the government has chosen the path we're going to do it. Because, for instance, if the goal was just to reduce carbon, right? That's why we're driving electric vehicles. The government could say, here's $500 billion. And oh, by the way, if you generate less than this amount of carbon in your car, you qualify for it. That's not what they said. They said electric vehicles. There are guys out there that have processes and are on the verge of commerciality in terms of doing low carbon gasoline from natural gas. They don't qualify.
Why is that? Like,
Well-
why? What is the agenda here?
Well, and that's what's really fascinating about it, at least from my vantage point, is the lobbyist, I guess, for electric vehicles won out. Because the ultimate goal is less CO2 in the air, right? Less emissions.
Right.
But that wasn't tied to the tax. The tax was you're an electric vehicle.
So it was very specific.
It was very specific. The government chose the winner right there instead of, hey guys, have lower emissions cars and you'll get a tax credit. They said, no, it's electric vehicles. So it's interesting because, and to the point Mark was making about the second order effects, it's not just, okay, we're taking, $500 billion and we have a $31 trillion worth of debt. So I hate to say 500 billion is a drop in the bucket, but it's kind of a drop in the bucket. Instead of just spending that, it's stepping back to Honda et al. Building factories here that take $4 billion and all. We're really going to be spending a lot of dollars. And that goes back to the big picture thing that we talk a lot about around here is the goal is to reduce CO2. But at the end of the day, we got to do it and spend $5 trillion, not do it and spend $50 trillion. Because if we spend $50 trillion, the 45 trillion could do a lot of good things. Feed people, the homeless, whatever you want to do with 45 trillion. Because I think basically the markets stated we're going to reduce emissions, right? And I mean, that's not just the government.
Right.
That's Apple Computer. It's my kids. It's everybody has said that. The key for the good of the world, I think, is to figure out how to do it without bringing down our quality of living. And we can bring down our quality of living two ways: by one, not having cheap, affordable electricity, and two, just spending more money on things we shouldn't. So the IRA is pretty fascinating. We need to get somebody somewhere that knows a lot more about it than I do to actually come on and talk about it. Because I think we're going to look back in 5 years and go, holy shit, that was a way bigger deal than even we appreciated.
What's
at
the
the time.
sentiment like in the different energy verticals about this, like oil and gas? What's the sentiment there with it? Renewables, what's the sentiment there? Like, is it aligned? Is everyone like on the same page, or is it like controversy?
No, I think oil and gas folks look at it and go, okay, so when you look at the tax code and government spending, they're basically kind of two buckets, right? One is if you spend X amount of dollars on something, how you depreciate that over time influences your taxes, right? So if we spend $10 billion and we can depreciate that over 10 years. It's $1 billion a year. Well, it's actually better for us if we can depreciate in 2 years, right? Because everything we depreciate covers up income and we don't have to pay tax on. So it's how you depreciate CapEx. And then there are literally what I define as subsidies. That's the government cutting a check to you. And so I think what oil and gas has always had is accelerated depreciation. So people have kind of said, hey, it's really crappy that you drill a $10 million well and about 75% of it can be depreciated in the first year, even though that well is going to be producing oil for 40 years, right? So people have always said that's crappy. Well, oil and gas guys say about renewables, they actually get subsidies from the government. I mean, the government gives you a tax credit, meaning if you spend $100 building a solar plant, you get $100 of savings on your taxes no matter what. If that plant works, doesn't work, and all that. So I think oil and gas is saying, hey, why are you subsidizing all those guys? And I think their legitimate argument is at least what I generate, oil and gas, can be base load in terms of generating electricity. You know, Winter Storm Uri notwithstanding, but, you know, we can run natural gas fired plants, generate electricity no matter what. You are in effect encouraging the building of wind and solar, which is great. But when they don't run, we don't have electricity and they don't pay a penalty for that. Right? Because the way certainly the grid in Texas, ERCOT, the way it works is you put some electricity on the grid, you get paid for it, right? And so wind and solar that in effect gets built for free because the government is subsidizing that, puts electricity on, makes money. The wind doesn't blow, it doesn't put it on. Who cares if you're the wind provider? Well, the consumer cares because all of a sudden the lights go off and all that. And so I think there's that fight between oil and gas and renewables. And in fairness, the renewables folks, back to the oil and gas people, are, yeah, but your product generates carbon and you don't pay a tax on that. You go pollute you know, and so therein kind of lies the rub of the big fight. And quite frankly, why we're having fuses, so those folks will get together and talk about that instead of, you know.
Do you think that if they were to get charged a fine for not producing, that it would create innovation, like faster innovation within like the wind, solar communities?
Yeah. You know, so when I did the energy policy draft as a podcast and had people on and they chose what their policy was going to be, David Ramsden Wood's prescription for the way to create innovation and unleash the free market was no more subsidies, no more accelerated depreciation on things. Energy, y'all just go compete with each other, and the winner falls out, whoever wins. The issue with that is, how do you treat carbon? Because I mean, even if you don't believe that rising CO2 levels is leading to global warming, even if you just say, no, we're in natural cycles and all that, CO2 still sucks in the air. You know, I mean, you don't sit behind a car and suck in fumes because it stinks, right? You know, so there is, I think we all agree pollution has some price. Some people may think it's this, some people may think it's that. So that was David Ramsden Wood's way of going through creating innovation. You know, another thing we clearly need to do is way more shots on goal. I mean, we need to throw money at things and have inventors inventing, entrepreneurs trying to create companies around this, because we can talk all we want to about how we are going to reduce carbon emissions and all that. We're not. I mean, is John Kerry really going to stop flying his plane around? I mean, Leonardo, 25-year-old girls like the plane, right? So I get it, Leonardo, you need your plane. But, you know, so we're not going to reduce our standard of living And the only thing, that we've got really out there to, if CO2 is this huge problem, is technology. And the only way to get the technology is way more shots on goal.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think, and I'm a libertarian, so if the government went away, I'd be the happy guy. But at the end of the day, if you're going to have government spending money, throw it everywhere, just so we get kind of more shots on goal. This is actually kind of difficult. I'm glad y'all didn't ask me on.
I feel like this is a crossover.
I
This
know.
is so hard. It's like, oh my gosh, I wasn't ready for this.
We put you on the spot.
I know. The back in the day, Chevy Chase at the start of Saturday Night Live, Gerald Ford was president, and Chevy Chase would impersonate him, and they were doing a mock presidential debate. And Chevy Chase leans in as Gerald Ford. My understanding there was going to be no math on this debate. So,
That's how you feel.
that
I have a segment I want to do.
Uh-oh.
Can you do it?
oh my gosh.
Surprise.
Surprise.
Misty's scaring me with that smile. Oh my gosh, what is it? Okay, yes.
All right. So
All right.
I haven't talked to all of you about this, but this is a fun segment that I would actually like to introduce into our podcast. It's called Factor Cap. And I'm going to tell you some sentences, some statements about energy, and you're going to say factor cap.
What does cap mean?
It,
That's like
Jules,
not
Jules,
fact,
this
yeah.
is you.
Yeah, like an
Opposite.
overreaction.
It's a false
It's a
statement, like
false
true or
statement.
false,
It's not
but
true. Yeah.
factor
So,
cap, keeping up
okay.
with the times.
Okay, how would I use cap in a sentence as me
Why do I
directing
have to do
towards
that?
me directed towards my 15, 16, or 20-year-old? How would I say that? Stop capping on dad?
Yeah, I guess. Like,
I feel like it's
That's
more
cap,
common
like,
that
that's-
people say no cap,
No cap.
meaning it's like completely true. Like I could be like, I'm wearing a garnet shirt, like no cap. Like it's for sure I'm wearing this color shirt.
everyone
Okay.
in
So
my
the
family is
opposite.
going to get roasted for me explaining what that's cap means on a podcast.
No cap.
Okay.
All right. So cap or
Fact or
or
cap.
cap.
It's a
All
fact.
right.
So if you think if it's not true, you just say cap.
It's another word for like that's false, I guess.
Yeah.
Like that's
Okay.
cap.
I wonder
All
where
right.
it came from. Different segment. Continue.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna Google.
Okay. First one. A single lightning bolt unleashes 5 times more heat than the sun. Factor cap.
Fact.
I don't actually know the answer.
I was waiting.
We came a little unprepared
Right.
today.
I'm assuming they're actually facts. But one more.
Okay.
Assume I didn't just say that either.
Okay.
60 minutes of solar energy could power the earth for a year. Factor cap.
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 Oh yeah.
Why?
Is it cap? I think it's
So
fact.
it could be cap depending on how you read it and if you get an explanation. Solar energy meaning the sun, not like capturing it. It's just like straight up sun power.
Oh, yeah.
Is that
So what I took it meaning was the state of solar technology today, if it just had an hour of sun, which would be a stupid question, right?
That's
because
exactly what I was told today.
Yeah. So no, that would be a stupid question because of course it gets an hour of sun and we don't power the whole world with it. So
Yeah.
So you're just saying if we could capture an hour of sunlight, capture all of it, and probably have perfect efficiency in the transformation.
So for the purpose of explaining, the sun is the most powerful source of energy in the universe, sending 430 quintillion joules. Do you say joules or joules?
Joules.
Joules
What?
of energy.
I've never heard anyone say it like that.
Every year.
So I've never heard anyone say it like that.
Say joules?
Yeah.
Joules?
Jules.
Is it Jules?
I've
It's
always
Jules
heard
like
joules.
Jules.
It's Jules.
Yeah, it's Joules.
You're a powerful energy.
Yeah, you are.
A beaming ray of sunlight.
You gonna do one more?
Sure.
10 Google searches can power a 60-watt light bulb. Factor cap.
That totally seems like a fact. I mean, so the 4th largest user of energy on the planet's the Xbox network. You know, I mean, all the kids
Wow.
sitting around. Yeah, I read that fact somewhere.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, everybody goes on about Bitcoin mining and how much energy it uses. It's like, no, it's the kids down in the basement with the headsets.
Are they really
on.
kids though?
The adults.
They're
Yeah.
like the 30 to 40-year-olds.
Tell us about your ex-boyfriend, Jules. That sounds. Did we lose a boy to the Xbox? Yeah.
No, it's the 30 to 40-year-olds whose kids are taking a nap and they're upstairs playing Xbox.
Yeah, I can't defend my people. That's very true. So what's the plan? So bring people on, ask kind of basic questions and energy, where the podcast goes. Target listener, is this kind of like my mom? Mom should be listening to it. Who else?
I think it's really anyone, whether you're in the industry, outside the industry, you know a little bit, you know nothing. I think it's for anyone who just wants to raise their own IQ. I feel like energy, oil and gas, the IRA, renewables, EVs are such big topics that you're seeing almost in every major publication every week. There's some sort of something about whether it's gas prices or EVs or God, I feel like I could go on, but it's for anyone who just wants to raise their IQ, because that's the goal at the end of the day, is to get everyone, no matter your opinions, is have that base knowledge to be able to have the conversation, which is something I feel like all of us coming from outside of energy, working at Digital Wildcatters now, I know that's been kind of a personal goal, I think, for all of us. And it's been fun along the way to kind of start at that base level. So when you're hearing people come in at the office and talking about it, you actually can listen and know.
Follow.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this as somebody, I mean, I've been in energy, 30 years now. And even I would have meetings where we were going through due diligence on land issues in an oil and gas deal and just asking a bunch of basic questions of the landman on like, okay, we have a title dispute. What is it? And him or her saying, well, I went to the courthouse and hold on, what do you do at the courthouse? And you go back and they just walk through kind of the basics. And I'm sure they thought I knew that because I've been in the business forever and, you don't have a clue. So this is cool.
Yeah, I think it's even people within the energy industry are so tunnel vision on their specific sector. Their oil and gas, that's all they tunnel vision on that. So renewables, geothermal, like they're not so educated on all of the other energy sectors. So that's another reason why we're doing it.
Oh, that's cool. So I got lectured when I started a podcast. The key to it is consistency. If you're going to drop Wednesday morning at 8:00, drop every Wednesday morning at 8:00.
Yes,
So-
Chuck. Yes.
Y'all scared
So
me
we
on that.
are dropping every Thursday starting. How did we drop this Thursday?
We didn't. Starting next
Next
Thursday.
Thursday.
Starting next Thursday.
Okay. And how do people find this again?
Energy 101. So we're on Spotify, Apple, whatever. You
YouTube.
can search Digital Wildcatters Energy 101. You can also go to digitalwildcatters.com and we're there.
And YouTube, are y'all doing video too or just
Yes.
audio?
Yeah.
Nice.
Video.
Okay, very cool.
And so if any of Chuck's listeners have any ideas of who we should have on or topics that we should cover, this is great for anyone outside the industry that's like, hey, I would love to learn more about XYZ. We are your people. We got your back.
There we go. Very cool. I'm not sure I would have made that broad a statement to my listeners. It's kind of like you're going to get maybe an answer from my mom and my
That's
fourth,
okay.
and my
That's a
fourth
listener.
grade teacher. But besides that,
Hey, if they don't know much about energy and they want to learn more, that's our audience.
Or if you are an expert on a topic and want to
Ooh,
come
yeah.
school us up,
nice.
Reach
That's a
out.
good one, too.
Nice. Very cool.
Wait, before we go, we want to ask you one
Uh-oh.
last question.
All right.
Are you ready?
I guess.
What is your most embarrassing story
Ooh.
ever?
Ooh.
Ever.
Ooh.
Tell us the
ever.
tea.
Ever the most embarrassing story ever. Okay. I'm gonna bust mom. So I will also think of something more embarrassing while I'm telling this story. This was pretty embarrassing. So one day I was a freshman in high school, right? And that's pretty awkward time, right? And it's even more awkward. I'm trying not to get on my soapbox, but as freshmen and high school women, right? Y'all got all the attention from the senior and junior guys. Everything's cool. The freshman guy is the most awkward person on the planet, right? And so I'm sitting in class one time, and someone who shall remain nameless, because there's an outside chance that a high school friend is listening to this, but I was actually talking to a really cute girl, and my mom barged into class and took my car keys because I had left shorts on the floor of my bedroom.
Wow.
Man.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, and God loves Sally Yates. She's the greatest human being on the planet. She really is.
I need to take some tips from her.
She has 4 boys. And so there were just those days when, stuff hit. Mom's a wonderful mom. We had dinner 2 nights ago. She's very special. Came in, yanked my car keys right in front of cute girl. I was traumatized.
Thank
So-
goodness
What
that
did cute
parents
girl
can't
say?
just like barge in nowadays.
Yeah, they
Right.
can't. You can't do that now.
Oh,
Yeah.
small town Richmond Rosenberg?
No, you.
Small town Richmond Rosenberg back in the day.
Anything
like
goes.
mom barged in, and then the teacher said, I don't know what you did, but your mom came in and took you out in the hall and popped you. And then the assistant principal heard that your mom did that. He took you to the office and popped you too. So I mean, it was
So
like,
funny.
and then you got home, and because you got popped at school, your mom popped you again. So
Rough
yeah, it
life.
was. Yeah, it was. We
Was
had it
cute
hard
girl
back-
making fun of you?
I don't know. We never went out.
We never made eye contact.
And it
again
was
after
all
that.
because of the keys and Sally.
It was all because of it was all
Mhm.
because of the keys and Sally. So, yeah. Actually, in fairness, cute girl agreed to go out with me and then stood me up. Oh, let's just go ahead and take this story to the end of
Oh.
it. We'll have to break this. We won't say any names on here.
Give
But
her
so-
a fake name.
Yeah, okay. Sarah Steffi. That was an
I feel
actual
like that's
name.
her.
I was like, that was very fast and
It
very
was-
specific.
I can't believe I'm going to tell this story on the podcast, but anyway, Sarah doesn't listen to it, and Sarah and I are.
She might.
This is
Sarah,
going to be the one episode. she
Sarah and
listens
I are
to.
friends now. So anyway, Sarah agreed to go out with me, and she stood me up. She went and spent the night with all her friends that night, but I got her back later on. But this is like how horrible a human being I am. So I'm fessing up to how horrible. I am. So Sarah started dating my friend Mike. And like later on, and this was one true love and all that sort of stuff. And so he was my best friend. So I kind of had to be nice to Sarah, and we were nice and all that. And Mike was going out of town one weekend.
Chuck.
didn't.
No,
Oh,
you didn't.
no. I didn't do what you think I did.
Oh.
Mike was going out of town one weekend to actually cheat on Sarah. And I played like I was Sarah's best friend and took her to a movie and all that because Mike's out of town and all that. Yes, I was a facilitator of that.
Sneaky.
Knowingly.
Does she know?
Oh, yeah,
No?
she found out.
She knows now.
Did you tell her?
What?
Did
No,
you
I
t-
didn't tell her. It
How'd
was-
she find out?
Well, I think Mike finally fessed up to her, or
Mm-hmm.
the 12 people at the party watching it told her. I don't know.
God.
Yes. And that is my most embarrassing story
That
in
was a good
full
one.
circle.
That was a
That's
good one.
I'm kind of breaking out in a sweat. I shouldn't have told that.
I
I'm
think-
sorry, Sarah. That was very wrong of me.
You should end every episode with an embarrassing story.
You should. I
No.
feel like you have
This
way
was-
more.
I know.
this
That's the
was
one you
this was
chose?
way too traumatic. I'm so glad. I can't believe, and I'm not coming on Energy 101. Not if
Not if
this
we have
is
to
more of
ask that
this.
again.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna talk about celebrities if you come on Energy 101.
Oh,
Yeah.
love me some celebrities.
Quickly,
Yes.
who was the celebrity that you fangirled the most over?
Fangirled the most.
Like when you
over-
met,
That
you were
you've
just
met.
starstruck.
I mean, like, there's no question. It's not even close. The fangirl the most over Bret Michaels of Poison.
Oh.
Totally. So I've hung out backstage with Bret, because the beauty of a Bret Michaels show, literally everything's for sale, right? I mean, hey, I want that hat that Bret wore on stage. Tour manager's like, well, what will you give me?
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, so literally one of the shows, I was like, hey, I want to go hang out in the trailer with Bret Michaels. What will you give me? And so anyway, I bought my way back, and I've subsequently bought my way back about 3 or 4 times. So let's call it 4 or 5 times I've hung backstage with
That's so
Bret
cool.
Michaels.
Mhm.
And I've got a picture on my phone that a buddy took when we were backstage, and I call it Bret Michael, where is my restraining order? Because Bret just looks terrified that he's like, when is this guy
He's
going
like,
to go
this guy
away?
again.
When is this guy going to go away? But the first time I ever went backstage to hang out with Bret Michaels, I was starstruck. I mean, this is my dude, right? And
Yeah.
so I kind of walk up and I'm starstruck, and he's like, hey, I'm Bret. And I go, I know this sounds kind of gay, but can I have a hug? And Bret looked at me and goes, dude, that's totally gay, but bring it on. And he gave me a hug. Coolest guy on the planet.
That's
Seriously.
awesome.
Yes, totally fanboy. Well, you guys were very cool to come on. I really like the idea of the podcast. That's going to be really cool. And I'm going to go listen to them because I want to hear about robots.
Mhm.
I want to hear Justin because Justin's cool.
He's awesome.
And yeah, and Kay sounds like that's really cool.
Her episode was probably like one of my favorites. That's already out. So
Yeah.
Diana isn't out yet.
Okay.
Diana will be next week.
Okay.
But Kay's is really good. I like it.
Cool. Well,
Justin's was good too.
yeah. So Sarah Steffi, again, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for revealing that story. Well, I don't think that micro content will make its way to Facebook and all our high school friends, so you're probably safe. But thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks for
Thanks
having
for having
us.
us.